Happy New Year to everyone. This guitar lesson is a viewer request and it is Fine Time by the band Cast. Now Cast is a Britpop band that was formed from the La's, and the bass player in the La's is John Power, who is the lead singer and rhythm guitarist in Cast. So the song was released in 1995 and it's a great guitar track with some really cool guitar lines in it, and we're going to be looking at those different guitar lines in this lesson. So for this song you're going to need to be in E flat standard. I've got my guitar tuned to that, so if you want to play along to me, your guitar is going to need to be tuned to E flat standard too. So to begin with, we've got some chords, and this is really the only time in the lesson we're going to be looking at strumming chords. The rest is the more lead guitar work. So we start off with our G chord. Okay, so it starts off the song big strum, and then you're going to bring your second finger down onto the 3rd fret of your A string, and this kind of turns it into almost like a C or C add 9, and again you're just going to give it a strum down all the strings except from your top one. Okay, so we got like that. And then the actual lead guitar part comes in. So for the actual lead guitar part of this intro, you're going to place your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of our D string, and then your 1st finger is going to be on the 1st fret of your B string. And what we need to try and do is make sure we've got the open G ringing out. So for this chord shape, we're going to be picking through the chord. So we've got the D string, and then the B string, and then we've got the G. Okay, so D, B, G. And then we're going to do a slight movement with our left hand. So we're going to move to the 2nd fret on our D. So I recommend just using your 2nd finger for that. And then we're going to pick the D, the G, and the B. Okay, so we've got kind of 2 picking patterns. The first one is D, B, G. And then switch fingers and we've got D, G, B. So I'm going to play it for you now in the context of the song. So I'm going to add the first 2 chords. And then we've got a couple more notes after that. So you're going to be staying with your fingers on the 1st fret of your B and your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the D, but you're going to bring your 3rd finger up to the 3rd fret on the low E, and then you're going to do a pull off from 1 to open with your 1st finger. Okay, so 3rd fret low E, down to the B, and pull off. So just to hear that in the context of the other picky part. Then you're going to play the open G. Okay, so. And then I think there's actually an open D, so you can just release your fingers. Okay, so if I play the picky part. Bring the 3rd finger up, pull off, open G, open D. So that is essentially your intro riff, if you want to call it. So the bit where you're picking the strings comes in and out of the verses. On the last time before the chorus, it changes slightly at the end. So I have this. So what we're doing is we're playing our open D, but then we're just going to do the 1st fret on the B, pull off to open. And then we're going to pick the G, and then we're going to do it again. Okay, so pull off G, pull off G. Again, in the context, this is the last time you're playing it in the verse. That then leads you into the chorus of the song. And the chorus of the song is essentially the name of the song, Fine Time. So that's the part where you're going to need to switch. So you're going to be going into a D chord, and we're going to be, again, picking through these chords. So we've got D, G, high E, and B. Okay, so. Then you're going to move to an F chord shape. So your 1st finger's on the 1st fret of your B, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret G, 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the D. And you're going to pick the D, the G, the B, and the G. So if we put 2 chords together, then you're going to slide that shape up 2 frets, okay? So we're now essentially playing a G chord, and we're going to pick the same strings. Okay, Okay, so D, G, B, G. So let's put those three chord shapes together. And then we have a really cool lick after this. So once you play that, you're going to do a slide with your third finger from the 5th fret to the 7th fret. Then you're going to pick the open B. And you're going to do another slide from 7 to 9 and pick the B. Okay, on its own it sounds a little bit naff, but when you put it in the context of the song. So I'm going to play all of that for you. And then you're going to play it again. On the second time round, you're not going to do the slidey bit. You're just going to pick through your G and end on the D string. Okay, so you're going to go D, G, B, G, D. So let me play for you that chorus. After one of the choruses, we have this guitar line. And this is with the lyrics of, I do believe you have the words, or something along that, but I'm pretty sure you know this guitar line, it's quite high up in the mix. So for this, we're going to be essentially in a D chord shape. So you're going to have your first finger on a bar on the 10th fret of the high E and the B, second finger on the 11th fret of the G, and your third finger's on the 12th fret of the D. And for this, again, we're going to be doing more picking, but we're also going to be adding a hammer on too. So we're going to pick the D, the G, the B, and then the G. And then you're going to be picking the G again and hammering on with your little finger to the 12th fret. And then to finish off the phrase, you're going to be picking the B, the high E, and the B. So that's your pattern. So let's do that slowly together. So we've got D, G, B, G, G, hammer on to 12. And then we've got B, high E, B. Up to speed. So that pattern will repeat later on, but if we move to the next pattern, there's a slight change in it. So our first part is the same all the way up to our hammer on. So you just pick exactly the same strings again. So D, G, B, G, hammer on. Then you're going to pick the B. So it's all exactly the same at the moment. But then you need to move your little finger out to the 14th fret on the high E. Take it off and then pick the high E again, which will now be the 10th fret. It's quite an awkward stretch. But that's the movement we're doing, 14, 10. So if I play the second pick and pattern for you, we've got the D, the G, the B, the G, hammer on, B, over to 14, take it off, and the 10th fret high E. So that's the second phrase. The third phrase goes back to the first phrase. Okay, so the first phrase is where we don't move that little finger over to the 14th fret. So I'm just going to play for you again the third phrase, but you already know this, it's the first one. Okay, so. And then the fourth and final phrase is very similar to what we just played then. We're going to play exactly the same all the way up to the high E, but then we're just going to stop. So it's D, G, B, G, hammer on, B, high E. And that's it. And then it goes into the different part of the song. So I'm going to link those four phrases together for you now. We're going to take this quite slow, okay? So. So it's a little bit tricky because our fingers are kind of squished a little bit and your little finger has to come out to the 14th fret, which is a little bit of a stretch. But take it slow, give it a practice, and soon you'll pick it up. With your right hand, just go with your natural picking technique. Generally, if I'm going down, I'll pick down. If I'm going up, I'll pick up. So the last part of lead guitar that we need to look at is the guitar solo, and it uses the same shape as what we used in the intro. So you're going to place your third finger on the third fret of your D string, then you got the open G, and then your first finger is going to go onto the first fret of the B. Now your finger's going to stay here for pretty much, well, half or 3/4 of the guitar solo. But again, we're going to be picking some strings. So we're going to pick the D, G, B, G, D, and B. Okay, so that's the rhythm of it. So D, G, B, G, D, B. It's important that we get that pattern down because we're going to be using it again later on in the guitar solo. So the second pattern is quite similar, but our little finger is going to go down onto the third fret of our B string. So now we're going to pick the D, the G, the B, the G, the D, and the B. Okay, so the picking pattern, or the strings that we pick, is exactly the same. We've just got our little finger down onto the third fret of the B. So the first pattern, little finger off. Second pattern, little finger down onto the third fret of B. And then we have this cool little line here that sounds like this. So for this, we have got a little bit of a movement with our first finger and our little finger. So you're going to bring your little finger down to the first fret on the high E, you're going to pick it once. Little finger on the third fret of the B. Back to the high E. Okay, so. Then you're going to play an open high E. And again. And I recommend just keeping your third finger on the third fret of the D. You could let it go, but we're going to need it later there. Then you're going to go back to the third fret B, back to the first fret on the B. So that single note part is. And then we've got a hammer on from open to 1 and then pull off to open on the B string. Okay, so. Then you're going to pick the G string, then you're going to pick the D, then the G, then you're going to do the same hammer on and pull off, and then you're going to pick the open G. So if I go from the first fret of the high E, and that kind of completes the first half of your guitar solo. So let's get into the second half of the solo. So the second half of the guitar solo starts off with those two picking patterns we had at the start. Exactly the same. Okay, so exactly the same. We're not going to go into detail, but then it will change. So we've got this. Okay, so this is a little bit tricky, and in some ways I'm going to give you the chords and I'm going to go into the strumming, but it's better just to try and play along to me and to the song, because the rhythm's a little bit awkward. So we play our picking pattern here, and we're actually going up to the 17th fret on the G, to the 18th fret on the B. So you're going to hold both those strings down, and we're kind of going with a. So what you're going to then do is you're going to take your second finger off, so you'll have a bar on the 17th fret G and B. So it sounds like this. Then you're going to strum that 17th fret chord. I'm going to play it a couple of times because, again, it's easier for me to play it and you try and copy along with the rhythm than me going into the details of the strumming, because it's quite odd. And then we got one final chord shape, which is the 15th fret on the B, 16th fret on the G. Okay. And then when you get there, we're going to pick the 16th fret on the G, and then you're going to do a hammer on and pull off onto the 17th fret, So it'll be... Okay, if I go from the beginning... And then after the hammer on and pull off, you're going to pick the 16th fret G again. Really, really odd lead guitar line here, but it's pretty cool. And then we've got this. So 15th fret on the D, 17th fret on the D, back to the 15th fret on the D twice. Then you're going to go to the 19th fret on the D, back to the 15th fret twice, and then the 17th fret D. So if I play that for you slowly, then at full speed. So if I go from the 17th fret and the 18th fret chord, I'll play you until the end of the guitar solo. Now that end part is kind of a little bit subjective because in the track it's actually hard to hear that because it all builds up to go back into the chorus again. But I watched some live videos and that's what he plays in the live videos, so I just kind of took that. So that has been all of the lead guitar parts to Find Time by Cast. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you did, click the like button, click the subscribe and the bell. That way you'll be notified each week when I upload a guitar lesson.